Hey guys, this is Jazzy with Revive Movement and Strength. What I'm going to do today is go through 9 different core exercises or abdominal exercises. When you're doing these exercises, you want to think of diaphragmatic breathing. What you're going to do is when you're doing each of these exercises, you want to focus on that concentric phase. When the core is contracting, that is when you're exhaling. So through each 9 exercises that we do today, I am going to tell you when you should be inhaling and exhaling. When you do these exercises that are a little bit more advanced, make sure you pay attention to that. Do not hold your breath. It makes the exercise way more challenging. So the first one I'm going to demonstrate and go through is the power tower leg raise. I am going to use a weight today. Like I said, today's exercises are a little bit more advanced. So I'm going to grab up onto the handle here. I'm going to raise myself up. I am going to put a weight between my feet. You can do this body weight. You do not have to use a weight. I'm going to lock my shoulder blades down and back. I'm going to grab that weight first. Lock my shoulder blades down and back. My back is pressed in. So when you raise the legs up, you're going to exhale when you come up, inhale when you go back down. If you start slipping, make sure you reset. Try to get 10 of these. I usually like to do 15 for the core because it's more efficient to do 15 than it is 10 when you're doing a smaller muscle group like this. Make sure you're breathing. I would try to do 2 sets, 3 sets. These are all going to be abdominal ones, so maybe just do 1 set through each one first. Exercise number 2 is going to be stability ball plank circles. So what we're going to do is grab a stability ball. You want to think of your elbows being right under your shoulders. You're going to go into that plank position. So usually the area that does not have the plug, so you don't hit your elbows on it. That does not feel very good. So elbows right under your shoulders. You're going to go into that plank. When you get into this plank, you want to think of tucking the tailbone. So you're drawing rib cage to your hip bone. My elbows are right under my shoulders. When I do this, I'm locking the shoulder blades down and back. Okay, so inhale, exhale. When you inhale, your stomach expands. Like if you were to put air into a balloon, exhale, let that air out, the balloon deflates. Okay, so think of that as we're doing the exercise. So your core is under tension this whole time as you're in that plank position. That's challenging enough. To make it harder, out and around. The bigger the circle, the harder it's going to be. Start with a small circle. Just make sure you do not bring the elbows in. That's going to shut your core off. It's not going to keep it under tension. We want those elbows right under our shoulders as we do this one. Maybe start with 5 one way and then 5 the other direction. If that becomes easy, you can build up to 10 each way or 15 each way. The third exercise we're going to do is a seated dumbbell twist. I'm going to use a 15-pound weight. If you're just starting out with this one, start with like an 8-pound or a 5-pound weight. This is a challenging exercise. So I'm going to go seated on the mat of this one. So the weight is going to be right against your chest. I don't want to hold it here. I don't want to bring it up. It's going to be right against my chest. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap my arms around it so I don't cheat myself. Tuck the tailbone. Think of your rib cage to your hip bone. I'm going to lean back to where I feel a pull in my abdomen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate side to side. So when you're in that twist, I'm going to exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. So you can stop or pause in the center. My muscles, or the core is contracting. So I'm rotating, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, side to side. So this is a seated dumbbell twist. Start with 10 per side and work your way up to 15 each way. So when you're seated here and you're doing that rotating side to side, your head follows where your body goes. And then also, if you start feeling it right through that back, what you want to do is you want to sit up, reset. Think of keeping that rib cage down to your hip bone, tuck the tailbone under, keeping that C in that lower spine. And I'm going to stay upright more. So I'm sitting nice and tall still, and I'm going to rotate side, center, side, center. So those are key points you want to keep in mind as you do that exercise. This is going to be exercise number 4. We are going to do a cable negative sit back. With this exercise, You literally have tension the entire time as we sit back. So you're gonna be inhaling and exhaling multiple times as you lie back. So I have a mat set down here. I have pretty light weight to start out with for this one. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sit facing away from this cable machine. So I'm gonna lie down. This is probably the easiest way to get into it. I only have one of the cables attached here, just because if I use two, I'm gonna hit myself in the face with that cable. Have this cable right over my left shoulder, and then I am very OCD, so what I would wanna do is I'm gonna switch partway through this routine. I can alternate every other, or I can do so many per one side. So inhale, exhale. You're using your diaphragm, breathing nice and controlled all the way down. If your legs raise up, think of driving your heels into the floor. So you want that core working, nothing else. So inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale, nice and controlled. Slow as you can, all the way down. Okay? I would aim for 5 per side if you're alternating, having the cable over one side of your shoulder and then the other. Start with 5. We're working that eccentric, where your muscles are lengthening or tearing to build the core or to get a stronger abdomen. So up, nice and controlled. Inhale, exhale. All the way down, okay? And ideally, you can bring that bar just slightly out in front of you. Your arms aren't doing any work, you're just holding it here. Nice and controlled. All the way down. So when you go back, your low back and then the upper half is how you should land. So when you come down, your tailbone's tucked under, think of your rib cage to your hip bone. When you go back, inhale, exhale, low back, and then your upper back. Okay, one more time. So you got that C positioning, low back to upper. So you're not arching that low back. Exercise number 5 we're gonna do is a lower body leg circle. So what we're gonna do is lie on our mat. Think of your back being pressed into the floor when you initially start. Legs are gonna be up, okay? So when we do this, arms are by your side, or you can grab onto that mat, whatever feels comfortable, but legs are up. And I'm gonna start by bringing my legs down. So try to maintain that back being pressed in. I'm gonna come down and around, the back is pressed in. The only time it comes off the mat is when we come up into that leg circle. Come down and around, back stays pressed in so we don't arch it and strain through that low back. And coming up and around. So what I'm doing is I'm gonna exhale when I do that, almost like a reverse sit-up or a moon arch. Think of tracing a moon. You're gonna come down and around, that back stays pressed in, come up. So if you cannot maintain that back being pressed in when you come down, what you wanna do is you're gonna keep your legs up higher. So I'm here, I'm gonna go down, and I'm not dropping my legs, but I am gonna focus on bringing my butt up or my hips up towards that ceiling. So think of kicking the ceiling away. So I'm coming down and around, I'm not going as low, and I'm coming up and then back down. So to make it more challenging, again, you'd wanna go low, keep that back pressed in, come up and around. Do not rush this exercise. If you do it properly, you are gonna feel it burning that core. Try to aim for 10 each direction. So I was going down and around to the left and up. Now to reverse it, I go the other way. I'm gonna go to the left, down, and up. Okay? Try to keep your head pressed in. That back doesn't leave until you bring those feet up and around. Make sure you're breathing. So I wanna exhale when my core is contracting and I'm raising my legs up and around. You should feel this throughout the entire abdomen if you do it properly. So coming down and up and around. The lower you go, the harder it is. The whole core is gonna work. Make sure you're breathing, do not hold your breath. If you experience any pain with this, personal message me and let me know if you're not getting this one, and I can try to help you throughout it. So again, try to aim for 10 each direction. You can also do this with the upper half. So I'm just gonna keep a slight bend in the legs. That helps maintain that back being pressed in. If my legs are straight, it's very easy to let your back arch right here. So if I bend them a little bit, I can force that back in. And I'm gonna rest my hands behind my head. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come up to one shoulder, come up and around. So I'm making that core work, but I'm getting more of that upper part of the core. So I'm coming around and up. Think of each shoulder blade. You're going from your left shoulder blade to your right and around. Your feet should not raise up off the floor at all. You should not be pulling on your neck. You wanna keep that head relaxed. Your hands are just literally resting behind them. If you end up pulling on your head, try to have your hands more by your ears so you're not. And what I'm gonna do is press that back in. I'm gonna come up and around. Come up and around. So I would aim for 10 each direction on this one too. Exercise number 6 is a decline bench reverse sit-up. I demonstrated a reverse sit-up before on one of the other videos. I believe it was the Tabata trucker one. So this one, I am gonna drop this bench down. This is a very old bench. I think I've had it since I was 12 years old, but it still works. So I'm gonna drop the upper half of that bench down. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my butt down where your head technically should have been if you had it as a neutral straight bench. And I am just gonna slide down a little bit more. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the seat. I'm gonna hold myself here so I don't go flying down off this. But my back is gonna be pressed in. This is way harder than a regular reverse sit-up because you are raising your whole bottom half of your body up with contracting that core as you lift the legs up. So this is a decline bench reverse sit-up. Again, I'm holding my hands here. What I wanna do is I wanna exhale when I kick up towards that ceiling, inhale when I come back down. So back stays pressed in until I raise up. I'm gonna think of pulling my knees up. I'm gonna kick up towards that ceiling and back down. What I don't want you to do is arch your back. So if you end up arching your back when you come down, don't go down so low. So the lower you go, again, the harder it is because you gotta raise up from that bottom position. So you're here, reverse sit up, come back down. You're exhaling when you go up towards that ceiling. Again, if I lower too much, my back is gonna arch right here. So again, press that back in. Your hands are here. This is a steep decline. You could decrease your decline and have a little bit less of one just to start out with. But if this is good, I would aim for at least 10 reps on this one. If it's easy, try to get 15. So you're here, pressing that back in, exhale, raise up. Your knees should not go technically below or lower than your hip height when you do this one. So when I'm coming down, I don't want my legs to go, or my knees to go any farther down than my hips. So I'm right here, press that back in, exhale, raise up. This is exercise number 7. This is a barbell twist. This is probably my least favorite exercise, but most favorite because it works the core 100%. It is very, very challenging. So if you're just starting out exercising, do not start with this one. But this is for people that are a little bit more advanced and that know what they're doing. So I have a standard barbell 45-pound bar set up. I have 15-pound bumper plates on it just so it moves. The heavier the bumper plates, the harder it is to move it. So 10 is a little bit too flimsy, so that's why I went with 15. I am gonna set up to where my hands are about shoulder width apart. So wrists right under the shoulders. I'm gonna go into a plank position. So I'm gonna slide back a little bit just so I have enough room. and we are gonna go into a plank. So think of pulling your rib cage to your hip bone. You're in that plank position. You're not shrugging your shoulders, keep them locked down and back. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna think of pulling the right hand in towards that hip bone, or elbow towards that hip bone, and then back to center. This is a slow and controlled exercise. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna exhale. When I go in with the barbell, or twist it, inhale when I come back. So my muscles are contracting as I come in, and bringing it back. They should be constantly under tension being in this plank position. Exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. Try not to let the rest of your body move. Just your arms are moving that weight, and you're getting those obliques firing. Again, this is a very challenging exercise, so if you're just starting, do not try this one. This is exercise number 8. This is a hanging side-to-side leg raise. So I am going to use a box to get up here. I have these arm holsters. Make sure you don't have tears in yours if you're using them at the gym. My arms are just going to go right in here into the sling. When you do this one, I like to have a higher box just to get set up, because this will help so you keep your shoulder blades locked down and back. And if I were to start from a bottom or a lower box, what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to try to jump to get into this sling. So my arms are in these holsters. I'm gonna think of pinching my shoulder blades down and back. I don't wanna have this padding too high up where it's digging into my armpit. So somewhere right in between that elbow and that shoulder, I'm gonna lock my shoulder blades down and back, because I'm gonna take that completely out of the equation. Plus, doing this is gonna help so you do not swing. If you start swinging, I want you to stop and reset. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lock them back. I'm gonna go into a dead hang. So I'm just hanging here. So you don't want your shoulders dropped down. You wanna lock them in. I'm gonna start on one side of the box. I'm gonna go up and over and to the other. So come up and over. The more you twist, the harder it is. Lock those shoulder blades down and back. Bring those knees up high. I would aim for, so when you do this, I'm exhaling as I'm coming up and around. Take an inhale when my legs are in that hang position. Exhale when I come up. When you do this, again, I'm starting to swing, so I need to lock those shoulder blades in. And when you do this, make sure you stay in that hollow position. So feet are slightly out in front, come up and around, and back. Exercise number 9 is gonna be a side wall toss. When you do this, or if you do this exercise, make sure you're not throwing it against drywall. For one, you're gonna make the gym really mad, putting a hole through their wall. And 2, you don't wanna do this at home and repair your wall. So I have a concrete brick stone wall. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be slightly away from it, about a couple feet. I'm gonna have a slight bend in my legs, and I'm gonna keep this ball fairly low. So I'm gonna rotate through my upper half, and I'm gonna side wall toss. So slight bend, core is tight, exhale, throwing. So you wanna exhale when you're throwing this ball against the wall. You don't wanna go way up high. It just throws you off. You want to keep that rhythm going. So slight bend, core is tight, side wall toss. Faster you go, harder it is. This is a 16-pound soft toss ball, so make sure you're not using a jam ball that has sand in it. It's not really going to bounce back towards you. A medicine ball is going to drill you in the face or the rib cage. So slight bend in the legs, core is tight, soft toss ball. Not drywall wall, concrete wall. And you're tossing it, rotating through your upper half. My legs are gonna stay straight forward. I'm rotating through my core and tossing. And I wanna keep that rhythm going. When you do this, try to aim for 15 to 20. You can go as high as 30 reps for this. Just make sure that you switch sides, do both sides. Slight bend, core is tight. I'm rotating, tossing it to the wall. You could do this with a partner too. It is Valentine's, So get them to exercise too. My name is Jazzy with Revive Movement and Strength. Please subscribe for future content, and happy Valentine's Day.